when it comes to the moon opposite the sun, we're speaking about balance. So when we think about that symbol, yin yang, the yin is pulling from the yang, and the yang is pulling from the yin. So in both of those hemispheres, we're seeing black, and then we see white. But within the white, we see a little bit of black, and within the black, we see a little bit of white. Because they're working holistically and harmoniously with each other. They're working together in integrity. And I feel like that's, I guess, the goal or the aim of the sun-moon opposition. When I think about this aspect, I think about werewolves. Someone who's born with the sun opposite the moon is a full moon individual. And, we see in media werewolves turn when there's a full moon out. And I think part of the reason I'm making that association is, because of that, also that common association with full moon and, cuckoo. I think it's because when we have such a full, beautiful moon, the moon is all about emotions and water. So she's full of water. I think about the tides being pulled inwards and outwards by the moon, that big, beautiful moon that just looks so ripe. And when we feel about our emotions, we recognize how much, I guess, there's sort of power in being able to control things. I don't want to say control, that's not the greatest word. But like to birth things, to replenish things, to renew things, to fill things. Like it's a powerful, big energy. And so when I think about a full moon, I think about a moon whose emotions and I guess like primal, raw, but that's not the right word. Like just really deep down inside that those honest emotions and feelings are seeking to come out. The way that a piece of fruit is very ripe and then the juice is dripping when you just gently press it a little bit, right? There's a fullness. And so I think it's like a similar thing with werewolves. There's such a fullness of this suppressed inner face or this suppressed identity that just needs to come out, and then it comes out under the full moon. A friend of mine, she used to work in a hospital, and she was telling me about how, because she wasn't even big into astrology like that really, but she was like, even before she got into more of these sorts of things, she couldn't help but notice that on a full moon, the hospital would be packed and that it would be all sorts of interesting, strange ailments chasing people into the hospital in the first place. And she's like, I can't help it. Like, if you talk to any healthcare worker, they'll tell you the same thing. And again, I think that speaks to, I guess, this sort of energy that is in the sun-moon opposition individual that they carry with them. This energy that they, I guess, have to put into action. Again, it's a full moon. It's ripe. It's ready for bringing something to culmination. When we think about something being brought to culmination, I usually think about like an experience, like a visceral experience that one maybe can't deny, Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. So, when individuals have this aspect, well, there are all sorts of ways that it can show up. Whenever we're discussing an opposition, we're discussing balance. So one could choose to suppress one side of the opposition, whether that be the sun or the moon, and then just I don't want to say overcompensate, but yeah, overcompensate. Like there's such a fullness in the energy that's just put into the other side of the equation. Um, I think about this movie that I'm watching called 28 Days with Sandra Bullock from like the 90s, I think. And it's interesting. Sandra Bullock, she doesn't actually have, well, by sign, we'll say, not by aspect, but by sign, she has the sun opposing the moon. And I found it interesting also because this film was called 28 Days, and a full moon cycle is, about 27, 28 days. So I found that interesting for the moon to get to the full moon state. So in this, she is a woman who parties hard, and that partying hard, like a full moon, is spilling. It's spilling all over the place. It's spilling out onto her daily life. It spills out onto her sister's wedding. So it's like her sister very much represents domesticity. Whenever we see her, she's generally in some sort of space of family, of maybe seeking to be the good mother. It's not even that she is a mother yet, but we always see her in these spaces that speak to home and family and wanting to nurture and protect something. Yes. And she's the older sister too. Older siblings are always the ones who are, not always, but in general are the ones who seek to protect, right? Protect and honor, I think, as well. Whereas the younger sibling is the one who has more space to differentiate themselves from rules and expectations and things like that. So we see Sandra Bullock as being the very opposite of her. I feel very... It's weird. They're both solar and lunar in different ways. Sandra Bullock is solar in that the attention must be on her, and that she lives hard, she parties hard, she's very willful, and she's not afraid of embracing new experiences. Whereas she's also very lunar in that she's highly emotional, and we don't see that until she's going through the process of rehab to get herself clean. We see her emotions are big and they're spilling over everything, so much so that it's like her presence was kind of suppressing the, I guess, solar power or personal power of the individuals in the rehab space, so much so that they have a community circle and they all just take their turn laying into her with such a passion and vitriol that we hadn't seen prior. And then Sandra Bullock just kind of finally erupts and is like, will you guys just, like, I'm having the worst day of my life, will you just back off? That's kind of what she says. And even the fact that it's like the worst day of her life, when we think about the moon, it's about cycles and ups and downs, but it's things that are passing and fleeting. They don't generally remain whenever it comes to turbulent emotions. And then when she does that, they all go silent, and then they clap for her. Which is, I feel like this film had so much to do with the balance, the relationship, the dynamic between the sun and the moon, because it's like the clapping is a solar thing, like good presentation, but we've got a full moon. A full moon is a moon completely illuminated by the sun, so it's imbued with the power of the sun. So it's like she did this in a very public way, just sharing her emotions raw. But it's that she brought those emotions to the surface. Usually she wears a mask of using humor to deflect, and that's like a solar thing, humor. But then she brings her true emotions out, and they're not pretty. And that's when she gets applause. And she gets applause because it's the first time that she's allowing her emotions to come out. She's not pretending or trying to hide them. Whereas the sister, so like I was saying, she's lunar in those ways, but then we see more of a solar character come out when Sandra is calling her on the phone being like, hey, do you want to come to this thing that, they're doing this meeting? And she's all bashful and stuff because she feels a little embarrassed, but the sister's just so over it because, she kind of wrecked her wedding, to be honest with you. And reckless endangerment and all this stuff. So the sister is being quite solar, she's seeking to, I don't know if I should say solar, but she's much more hardened. She's protecting herself. She's like, oh, so now I should, she's kind of haughty about it. Like, I should just drop everything and come and see you. Like, Yeah, she is quite solar. So I see this sort of solar lunar dynamic happening with the two of them as they engage. And I feel like that also speaks to how sun moon opposition individuals are experiencing this karma, and everyone, anyways, because everybody has personal planets aspecting other personal planets, generally speaking. But they're experiencing this karma of having to navigate independence and individuality and being myself and being responsible for myself while also bowing to, maybe not, well, bowing from the space of appreciation. So bowing to the family, bowing to the personal needs, and reflections of those who are in their domestic space. So that's more from a solar perspective. If I'm in that space of solar me at home, and I don't really realize it because the sun is so domineering, it's like it's the sun, and sometimes the sun doesn't see how it might be squashing out other presences that are around them, other human animal presences as well, because it's an opposition. It usually has to do with individuals and how they relate with one another, or conflict with one another. Whereas I think when someone's operating more from the lunar space, there might be admiration, appreciation for the solar figure, but then eventually the solar figure might fall off the pedestal if, because it's cyclical, right? And humans are humans. It's this experience of growing, maturing through the different phases of life. I feel it has a lot to do with the experiences of sun moon opposition people. So it's beautiful. It feels like this sort of daily bathing in symbiosis and reciprocity, in humility. We're fighting it more so when we're younger, but hopefully as we get older, we're fighting less. And then, oh no, a storm comes up and we behave the way that we did when we were 7. And it's like, oh, okay, now we're coming back. So it's this constant ebbing and flowing, rocking back and forth, and I assume until things stabilize. They're more stable for me now. Like when I was younger, I really did suck up all the air in the room. I didn't mean to. I probably still do it now, but I'd say much less because I feel like my relationships are like better now in general. But because the sun is it's such a powerful energy. But I also feel like I'm kind of in more of a lunar space right now. I'm much more like absorbing things, and so I'm trying to get back to that space of having or using my willpower to guide me, not so much just intuition and what is it, K, Sarah, whatever will be, will be. I'm trying to get back to the opposite of that. I'm trying to find balance. I keep seeing yellow. Yellow is a big thing right now, and again, sun, willpower. So yeah, I'm just gonna reference some notes. And I think part of this inner face, outer face experience is building integrity in myself. Because with the moon being so lunar and fluctuating, the moon can be like flippant. And so when I use, I don't want to say use, but when I look to the solar part of my chart, right? Because the sun is going to be in a house, the moon will be in a house, and they'll be opposing in this case. They'll be in opposing signs, unless it's an opposition by aspect and it's more of like a quincunx by signs. But in seeking to stabilize my emotions and how they can kind of be really big and spill over and slosh, I can look to my sun to help me stabilize in a point. in the point form of who I truly am. And that is the stable, eternal, unending version of myself, or me, rather, that's me. But I am an individual who's living in a physical existence. It's a physical reality. And the physical world is very lunar. Things are born, they grow up, they die, things are always in flux. And so I feel I'm learning more about who I am, and inadvertently about my own integrity, just by being here and exploring how my truths, my values, my perspectives, the things that I hold on to, actually, like how they are, how they pan out in everyday lived life lived in this body, life performed, or actions performed with this body in my life, right? I have a classmate at teacher's college, and he was sharing something that I found interesting. He's a very solar individual, and he was sharing how it's really important that he goes to the store on Friday evenings. If he doesn't go to the grocery store on Friday evenings, then his kids won't have a nutritious snack to eat during the week when they go to school. It's just going to be like rubbish, basically, like junk food, I should say. And he's like, and it has to happen then because of this, that, whatever. He's busy. He's a father of two with a lovely wife and a lovely home, and they're business people and all that. And he was just sharing about it, and I just found it so interesting. He's funny, he's charismatic, he has his own sort of independent style and way of being and expressing and creativity. But it's beautiful when we get to see how that solar figure must be humble and bow to the needs, the necessities of his family, those who are around him. And so we get to see him, let's call him Todd, funny, light, happy, cheerful, mischievous Todd, bring those qualities into Todd as dad, Todd as the one who must get these things for the kids, or else these are the consequences. Like Todd, eternal, wonderful virtues of Todd brought into the physical reality of consequences, timing, like all these sort of fluctuating aspects of the material world. So I found that very interesting. I'm just going to greet Hazel. Hello. Good evening. The moon like rules dogs in terms of category, so it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure if I already spoke about this, but when I was younger, I very much suppressed my emotions. I thought I wasn't a feeling person, so I was living on the solar part. I was pumping a lot of energy into that. I got Sun square Pluto, so pumping a lot into the ego of my identity. This is who I am. This is my creativity, etc. Who needs feelings? I'm very logical and intelligent, and all the stuff, But then it wasn't until I was older that, it's the full moon, the water is sloshing around. Eventually, it floods the other side of the spectrum if it's not receiving the attention that it needs. And so it's like, I would tell people I'm leaking. I'd be talking to them in conversation when I was like in my 20s, after seeing that I have emotions and going through this difficult period. Anyways, I'd be talking to someone and we're just talking about something completely innocuous, like whatever, mundane, and I would just start crying. But it's not like I felt or could recognize that I felt sad. I just felt like, oh, there's water running down my face. So I would say to people, I'm just leaking, don't worry. So it was wild. People would probably look at me like, oh yeah, this chick's like cuckoo, right? Like full moon, you know what I'm saying? Because the emotions are so big and I hadn't worked with them or dealt with them. So I was like unburdening myself, like, trying to relieve myself. of all the emotions and water that I'd kept hidden and buried for far too long. But then things started to balance out, and now I'm much more lunar, and I'm trying to get some of that solar, power back. So yeah, it's another interesting aspect of it. Yeah, and there's so much fortune on the inside. I think that's a beautiful thing when the sun is able to bow to the beauty of the moon, and want to hold the moon up, you know, and want to shine all of its light onto the moon, and appreciate and let others revel in the magic of the moon. I think that's gorgeous. And that's when that interface is coming out to illuminate that beautiful outer face, like to adorn it. The moon wants to be seen when it's a full moon. The full moon is about culmination, it's about the peak. And I feel like something like that should be celebrated, right? It comes out to be celebrated. Maybe not initially, maybe at first it's very messy because, the person, it's an opposition, they're working on it, right? But eventually, I think when the person is like doing that work, they say, right? The moon can be celebrated. We can all clap for the moon, like Sandra. I'm just going to read this. The moon is being illuminated. Everything I've been suppressing is getting let out. The sun opposite the moon means you were born on a full moon. The moon is fully illuminated by the sun. The moon wishes to be seen as powerful in her own right. She experiences solar adversaries. She is not the sun, but she is the peak, the full moon, the karma now in embodied action. The moon is the realm of the emotions and the soft, but now she is the fruit, karma, action, the manifestation made real, the manifestation into the physical. What's been lying unseen, hidden, comes to light. I think there's a beautiful maturity. I'm grateful that is happening in my birth chart. So I've got moon square Pluto, and I've got the sun square Pluto. So we got Pluto squaring the moon, squaring the sun. Then we have the moon and the sun opposing each other. And I feel like what may make for a lot of chaos initially has come to be a great strength, because Pluto has put the sun through a lot, and it's put the moon through a lot. And that's what needed to happen, for the sake of my own growth. And I'm only 30, so there's much more to come, which is good. But I always say that I'm 29, like, let's not front. Anyways, I feel like that like now it's like that work that's been put into the sun and the moon by other aspects as well. It like helps them come together now in this opposition. And instead of meeting as adversaries, maybe the sun is suppressing the moon, because that was happening for a long, long time. Now my head and my heart, they're conversing, and they're sharing and discussing with each other as one, as partners, cooperating in a much more mature way. And I feel like that's very beautiful. Okay, that's where I'm gonna stop.